If you've ever stared at a yard blanketed in dry, stubborn leaves and wished they could just disappear, or better yet, turn into rich compost overnight, get ready for something extraordinary. This isn't magic, and it's not another long, messy composting process that takes all season. It's a simple, science-backed formula that jump-starts nature's decomposition process and transforms lifeless leaves into dark, nutrient-rich humus, faster than you ever thought possible. This method has been taking the gardening world by storm, and once you try it, you'll never bag up another leaf again. Welcome to Crop Corner, where we turn everyday garden waste into living gold. Every autumn, gardeners everywhere face the same struggle: heaps of fallen leaves that sit for months without breaking down. Left alone, these leaves take 6 months or more to decompose naturally. But with this easy, natural solution, you can fast-forward that process dramatically. Within days, you'll see life returning to your leaf piles, and within just a few weeks, you'll have rich, dark compost ready to feed your plants. The science behind the magic, what makes this formula so effective, is not luck, but microbiology. Dry leaves are mostly carbon, which means they're like tough paper to the microorganisms that decompose organic matter. To break them down efficiently, microbes need energy, fast, accessible energy. And that's exactly what sugar, molasses, and yeast provide. When you combine these three ingredients in the right proportions, you're creating a microbial supercharge that ignites the natural composting process. The yeast brings billions of beneficial organisms into the mix. These tiny powerhouses multiply rapidly when fed sugar and molasses, releasing enzymes that digest even the most stubborn cellulose and lignin in dry leaves. Within hours, a microbial feeding frenzy begins, turning your leaf pile into a warm, living compost factory. The exact recipe for the compost accelerator. Well, precision really matters here. To make 1 gallon, which is about 4 liters, of the compost booster, measure carefully. 1 tablespoon of dry yeast, that's around 10 grams, half a cup of sugar, about 100 grams, 2 teaspoons of molasses, or roughly 30 milliliters, and 4 liters of lukewarm water, ideally between 30 and 35 degrees Celsius, which is about 86 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit. Warm water is key. It wakes up the yeast without harming it. Stir the sugar and molasses into the warm water until completely dissolved. Then sprinkle in the yeast and stir gently. Leave the mixture to rest for about 30 to 60 minutes in a warm, shaded place. As it activates, you'll notice foam forming on top. That froth is your sign that the microbes are alive and ready to work. This 1-gallon batch will cover roughly 10 square meters, about 100 square feet, of leaves. For larger gardens, simply multiply the recipe accordingly. So, 2 gallons for 20 square meters, 3 gallons for 30, and so on. Keeping the ratios consistent ensures your microbial army stays perfectly balanced. Now, here's how to apply the solution to your leaves. Once your mixture is active and foamy, it's time to bring it to the garden. You'll want to rake your leaves into an even pile, or just spread them loosely over the area you want to compost. Pour the mixture over the leaves using a watering can or sprayer, making sure every leaf is lightly damp. You don't want them soaked. Too much liquid can suffocate the microbes by cutting off oxygen. If your leaves are extra dry or thick, give them a light toss with a rake after pouring to help the solution penetrate deeper. Finally, cover the pile with a thin layer of garden soil. This step is crucial. It introduces more natural microbes and helps maintain moisture levels. Within the first 24 hours, the change starts. You'll feel warmth coming from the pile as microbial activity intensifies. That heat is the sign of decomposition in action. Over the next 3 to 7 days, the process accelerates dramatically. The pile heats up, sometimes enough to release gentle steam on cool mornings, and the smell shifts from musty to pleasantly earthy. By the second week, the leaves soften and darken, losing their crisp texture. By the third week, you'll be looking at rich, crumbly humus, ready to mix into your garden beds or use as top dressing around your plants. Why is this compost so powerful? Well, it's not just decayed leaf matter, it's living compost, absolutely teeming with beneficial microorganisms. During the process, essential nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium are released in forms that plants can absorb right away. The resulting humus, it really improves soil structure, boosts water retention, and encourages the growth of beneficial fungi and bacteria. Gardeners who've used this method often report stronger plant growth, brighter blooms, and deeper root systems. The difference in the soil is actually tangible. It feels alive. You're not just feeding your plants, you're rebuilding the soil ecosystem from the ground up. To keep your pile working efficiently, just make sure it stays moist, but never soggy. The perfect texture should feel like a wrung-out sponge. If the pile starts to dry, go ahead and sprinkle a little more of your yeast solution or just use plain water. Turning the pile every 3 to 4 days adds oxygen, which the microbes need to stay active. This simple step prevents foul odors and keeps the process running fast and clean. In cooler regions, you'll want to insulate your pile with a light cover of straw or maybe even more leaves, just to help retain that heat. And, well, in hotter areas, it's a good idea to provide some shade so the pile doesn't dry out too quickly. Now let's talk troubleshooting common issues. If your mixture doesn't foam after the first activation, your yeast may be inactive. Always use fresh yeast and, make sure your water is warm but not hot. If the pile starts smelling sour or unpleasant, it's probably too wet. So just turn it over to add air and let it breathe a bit. And if decomposition seems slow, you can sprinkle a handful of mature compost or garden soil over the pile to introduce some extra microbes. The beauty of this system is its flexibility. As long as you keep the proportions right and maintain airflow, it's incredibly forgiving. You'll quickly learn to read the signs, warmth, smell, texture, and fine-tune the process for your local conditions. Using this yeast, sugar, and molasses mix isn't just about convenience. It's about sustainability. You're turning waste into nourishment, closing the loop in your garden's natural cycle. Instead of hauling leaves away, you're transforming them into a continuous source of fertility that feeds your plants and revitalizes your soil. When you scoop up that finished compost, dark, crumbly, and sweet-smelling, you'll see the difference firsthand. You'll feel the power of life returning to your soil. Your garden will reward you with stronger crops, lusher greenery, and more resilient plants that thrive naturally without synthetic fertilizers. So next time your garden floor is carpeted with dry leaves, skip the trash bags. Reach for a bucket, some sugar, yeast, and molasses, and mix up this living elixir. Pour it over those leaves and watch them come alive again, transforming into rich compost before your eyes. If you found this guide helpful, make sure to subscribe to Crop Corner, hit that like button, and share this video with your gardening friends. Together, we'll keep your soil thriving, your crops growing strong, and your garden overflowing with life, naturally.